Okay, so Ruzagar and many, and thank you for you. May your life be good. What appropriate Zarathustra gathering when we gather from different part of the world with different time zone. My name is Purandokh Rostamian. The board members of ZSBC and I would like to thank you for being here with us. It is my honor and privilege that Mr. Fariboz Rahnemun have accepted my invitation to teach us about the Gatha. I personally like his understanding and translation of the Gathas. I feel he has been able to bring out gem in the Gatha that has been covered by centuries of dust from other culture and belief system. From many, or for many, it is difficult to digest because we are born in an Abrahamic culture and we are brainwashed with the Abrahamic beliefs. So we need to know the proper understanding of the Gatha. I believe all of you know Fariboz, that he have been studied and researched to do the proper translation of the Gatha since many years ago. Just some ground rule, please mute your microphone. And if you have any question, please write in the chat box. At the end of the presentation, Fariboz, Mr. Firdaus Mehta, or I would answer. But if it's about the Gatha, for sure, Fariboz would answer it. Fariboz, you are so welcome. And now floors is yours, please.
Thank you, Dr. Rostamian. Thank you, Firdaus, Optin, and everyone. And thank you, everyone, for your presence. As ZSBC has organized these sessions where we will try to understand the Gathas together. It is on the third Sunday of each month. So the next session will be on June 20th and the one after July 18th. If after that there is interest, we will continue. It is appropriate to open the session with a benediction from none other than Zarathustra himself. Optin, can we have the slide, please? This I seek with reverence, with uplifted hands, the perfectness of the mind, wisdom, the first benevolent gift of Asha. All should aspire to bring about good creation with intelligent thoughts, thus creating harmony between the creation and the inner self. Thank you, Optin. Now we will, as you all know, Gatha embodies the teachings of Zarathustra. As you saw, Zarathustra starts his Gathas by seeking wisdom. We see this copied by Ferdowsi in his Shahnameh, who also starts the Shahnameh with a verse of wisdom, on wisdom. Unfortunately, we as a community have looked upon it as a prayer to be prayed during the last 5 days of the year for the benefit of the soul of the dead. On the contrary, Gatha is for the living, for it guides you to choose from among the paths of creativity and start life on the right footing. Our immediate ancestors did not know of the existence of the Gatha till 1859, when Professor Martin Haig recognized them from among the Yasna. He recognized it based on the difference in the age of the language, which itself proves the originality of the Gathas. Thanks to our Mubeds, who followed the practice of memorizing the entire Avesta, the Gathas have come to us in its original form. Our immediate ancestors believed in the Vandita to be the teachings of Zarathustra because just like the other religions, the Vandita told them what to do and what not to do. And it is written in the form of question and answers between Zarathustra and God. What better than that? Western scholars have been instrumental in deciphering the Avesta text, and we should be very grateful to them. Deciphering a language takes a lot of imagination, and the mindset of the scholars plays an important role. Nearly all of them had an Abrahamic worldview, and they have unintentionally injected that into the translations. As we go ahead, I will point out the various obvious ones. To make my point, I will give you one very important example of Yasna 44, which is about creation, of how they have changed a very important word, namely kasna. Bartholomew has gone to the extent of saying that the word kasna may be left untranslated. Others have made grammatical rules on the go and dropped the S from the kas and added an R to the na and changed the word kasna to ke nar. That is converting no one, kasna is no one, to who or what being. I'm mentioning this just to show to what extent they have gone to insert their beliefs into the Gathas. But at the same time, in this particular case, they did a good thing. For otherwise, in those days and age, it would be blasphemy. We will go into detail when we study that particular verse. When the Gathas were compiled into the body of the Avesta, it was done knowledgeably. That is, the compiler knew exactly which verses are the Gathas. For they have numerologically arranged the entire Gatha portion of the Avesta, of the Yasna. Like 28 is 2 plus 8, which is 10, which is 1 plus 0 is 1. So that's the first verse. Unlike some people who say 29 is the first, this shows that 2 plus 8 is 10, 10 is 1 plus 0, so first. 29 is 2 plus 9, 11, 1 plus 1, 2. That's the second verse. 30 is 3 plus 0, 3, and so on till 34. 34 is 3 plus 4, 7. Then there is a break, and it starts again from 43, which is again 4 plus 3, 7. So that shows that they knew what they are doing. This also shows it was done on purpose, but why, when, and by whom, I at least don't know about it. Well, I'm going to present to you the Gathas that starts with wisdom. Apnijan, can we have the slides? We saw in the benediction that if anything we should wish for, it should be wisdom. So this I seek with reverence, with uplifted hands, the perfectness of the mind, wisdom, the first benevolent gift of Asher. Now, if you see over here, I put two colors for each verse because most of the verse are in two parts. The first part presents you a situation. In the second one, it sort of tells you what to do. So here in the first part, we are being, if we want something, Zarathustra is saying, ask for wisdom, don't ask for anything else. And then in the second part, he tells us how, now what do we do with this wisdom? All should aspire to bring about good creation with intelligent thoughts. So basically, if you look around you, everything that you see is created by humans. Everything that you use is created by humans. So Zarathustra wants us to be a responsible creator. You got the wisdom, now be responsible and do a good job with your wisdom. So all should aspire to bring about good creation with intelligent thoughts, thus creating harmony between creation and the inner self. So what you create should give you satisfaction, happiness, a sense of goodness. This verse is very famous for the Gyaush Urvanam part of it. If you look at the Avesta words which are on top of it, it says Gyaush Cha Urvanam. But many translators have removed the Cha and said Gyaush Urvanam. Now, Cha means and. So it's Gyaush and Urvanam. But when you remove it, it becomes one word, Gyaush Urvanam. And that's where they call it soul of the cow, soul of Mother Earth, etc., etc. But again, if you see, the word Urvanam has come to us today in the Farsi language also, and it has just dropped the U. And by dropping the U, it has become Ravan. And we use that word commonly. Now, Ravan is something which flows, something that continues. So it is something that has a mass that can flow, that can continue. But the soul is a spirit. So I have my doubts if Urvanam is really meant to be a soul. It is something which can flow. So we will talk about that at some other time when the verses and we know a little more about the Gathas. We'll talk about that. Of course, you don't have to believe what I say. We have the freedom of choice bestowed upon us by the Gathas. We both have the same freedom to listen and choose. So you are free to accept what I am presenting or not to accept it. Now let's go and see verse 30.2 that gives us that freedom. Up to on the next slide. This says, listen with your ears to the best. Consider with an open mind among the paths before deciding, person by person for his own self. Before the mass communication of a message is truly undertaken, comprehend the consequences. This again is in two parts. The first part and second part are one tells you what to do, one tells you what it gives you a fact. I would like to point out over here, and I should have done it before too, there are certain words over here that, see, we have been told by scholars that Avesta is a dead language and only Sanskrit can help us. But I'll point out certain words that we still use. Like I said, Urvanam has become Ravan, the U has been dropped. Here there is a word, the first green word before is Para. Para is a word that we use in Dari and in Sharifabad, it is a common word that they use. Peti, Peti is end. We have Peti Sham Gambar, end of summer. Peti Sham, Peti is end, consequence. Then we have Naram Naram. Nar is men. So Naram Naram, we can say person by person. Khav. Khav is a word that we use. We say kham. And tan, tanu, tan. So a lot of words are there that we use even today in Dari especially and some in Farsi. So I don't think Avesta is a dead language. We can still find words with a little twist. All of them are there. What translators have looked at this word from a moral point of view, and when it did not fit, they have added two parts. It's among the parts, as you see over there, aware now, but translators have said two parts. The word two is not there. And then to make sure we understood that they have added good and evil. Again, good and evil is not in that verse. The word, Avesta word, good and evil, you won't find it there. The fact is that Zarathustra is telling us how to choose our career in life, our path in life. If you have noticed, successful people are those that have chosen a career which would be their otherwise be their hobby. Scholars have told us that Avesta, sorry. Now let's see what Taraporwala has to say. Next slide, please. The Gathas must be judged by themselves and in the light of their own content. If, in other words, it would not be correct to understand the words from the Gathas in the sense it has acquired in later Zoroastrian literature. And it would be, of course, utterly wrong to read the ideas of later Zoroastrian theology in the Gathas. In other words, modern Zoroastrianism is not compatible with the Gathas. If the words don't mean the same, if the ideas don't mean the same, if the theology is not the same, this is what um, Taraporwala says. And I seem to agree with him. Now let's see what the Gathas is about. Next slide, please. Zarathustra has not left it to our imagination. He's very clearly told us what he is going to say in the Gathas in Yasna 30.1. He says, now of these shall I speak to those eager, of the wisdom that all the wise wish, and creation worthy of praise, and the good creation of the mind, the good mindset of Ashai. So that's the first part and the second part. And so that there be enlightenment whereby you attain bliss. So the Gatha is all about attaining bliss, attaining happiness, and how by doing understanding the four things that Zarathustra tells us he's going to talk about in the Gatha. The first one is wisdom that all the wise wish. Now, the wise people want to know everything. So it covers everything that you want to know. Second, he's going to talk about creation worthy of praise. It's Ahurai Yasna, which means things that God has created: air, water, fire, earth, the entire nature. He's going to talk about those creations that are worthy of praise. And then he's going to talk about Van Gehushmananga, that is creation, good creation of the mind. Van is good, Gehush is creation, and Mananga is mind. Who's creating that? We humans are creating. So Van Gehush is the creation that the human mind is creating. And finally, he's going to tell us about the good mindset of an Ashai. Ashai is a person who is a righteous person who wants to do good. And all that so that we be enlightened and attain happiness, attain bliss. Now, again, over here, if you look at most of the translations, they have said, now I shall speak of the two. The word ta up over there has been translated as two. Now, this word ta comes at least 15, 20 times in two verses, and every time it has been translated as these, except over here where they say these two. I don't know why, but they have done that. But as you saw, there are four things that Zarathustra wants to uh, talk in the Gathas, and it is very clear. Now let's see how we can attain this bliss, this happiness that Zarathustra has promised us. Thank you. He says, truly the asha derived by the good mind, never before known among the wise and all creation. With it, make good rules, never waning, increasing righteousness, leading us towards perfection. So he gives us a 5-step movement of attaining going towards happiness. First, it says that everything that the wise want is available in nature. So you use your good mind to derive it. Why good mind? Because evil mind will derive the evil from nature. That is why we say Hashem Vahu, good Hashem, Hashem is neek. Like there is fusion in nature. Without fusion in the sun, we would not be living today. But that fusion, when you bring it on earth, it becomes the atom bomb. It's not good. It's not good Hashem. It's not Hashem Vahu. So basically, he says that use your good mind to derive from Asha the information that is being there and which you can use, which solves all your problems from medicine to physics. You see a little ant. If you study a little ant, you will find out how to lift something 10 times your size and weight. So, and scientists today have understood that and they're doing that. Then it says, when you get that information, what do? You make good rules and good products. Hashatram. With it, make good rules, never waning. And good rules will never wane, they'll always be there. And what will be the result? It will increase righteousness. That will make the society a righteous society. And in a righteous society, the people living will have a chance to become complete, to become perfect. A perfect doctor, a perfect farmer, a perfect engineer. So these 5 steps takes us further to the next ha, that is 28:10. Up in the next one, please. And here it says, and those who are righteous are known for good creation and use of the wise mind in harmony with the wisdom in existence. Their aim achieved, their desire assuredly happiness, their reward knowledge and being known as righteous, faithful, and praiseworthy. So basically, that's how you become Amordad. A righteous person doesn't do anything for, so to say, money. He does it because first he'll have knowledge that will satisfy him, and then he will be known for being righteous, faithful, and praiseworthy. So he'll become Amordad. Now, what has happened is these have later been formalized as the Haftem Shauspandons. And we have added things to it. We have taken from other cultures and we have personified these Amshauspandons. They have become bountiful immortals. They have become attributes of God. And we have made good explanation for that. We have human mind is capable of doing many things, and we have done it. We have related each Amshaspan to the land, to the fire, to the etc., 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 and we have made stories out of it. But the plain truth is over here. The plain truth is over here, that these are the steps that each one of us can take and succeed and finally get to a position where we are derived happiness, because that is what is his desire. It says over there, their desire assuredly happiness. Now look at the word Avesta word. All of you who know Persian, or you know Yazdi Persian and Dari, it says Khash me bu. Khash me bu. Happiness. Everyone can relate to that. Now, a person who has achieved perfection, Hurvatata, and become Amordad, if he is spiritually inclined, because there are two parts to a human psychic. There's also the spiritual part of us. Now, somebody is spiritually inclined, somebody is not. And now, if somebody is spiritually inclined, he will realize God within. There'll be self-realization. And that's why in Persian we call God Khod A, come to oneself. You have to first know yourself to be able to know God. But we know God better than ourselves. We know his attributes, we know that he is a he. That is why when we name the Shaspandan, we start with the name of God. But God is something that we have to achieve by following the steps just mentioned and attain self-realization. Know yourself first before being able to know God. We, Zarathustra's teaching wants us to be seekers and seek, not be believers and believe. This is Zarathustra's teaching 101. From these few verses, we know that Gatha is about achieving happiness, bliss in this life on this planet Earth, and progressing towards perfection and passing on that perfection through Urvanam. I think I will end over here, and now if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Faribors, there's a question asking, so please, what is your definition of Asha? Since you say Ashem Vahu is good Asha. Would you like to respond to that?
Asha is the entire universe, everything that exists, the law and order that is in nature, the nature itself, everything is Asha. Now let me tell you something. See, we don't have enough words to explain some of the ancient words. I always give this example. Today, if somebody says screwdriver, we naturally ask them which screwdriver. You want hex, you want Phillips, you want Torch, which one do you want it? Same thing was there in ancient days. They knew more of nature, they more knew of the human body, they knew a lot of other things that we have forgotten about it. And instead